Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another in-depth weather video. Today, I'm going to be providing a brief update on the tropics. The tropics is the big focus of this week. First off, we do have tropical storm watches and tropical storm warnings in the Gulf of Mexico, and second, the coast of Texas. So most of the southern Gulf Coast of Texas is under a tropical storm warning, as well as pretty far inland in areas that are looking to be really caught right in the middle of the storm, as well as in parts of the northern Gulf Coast of Texas, some tropical storm watches. So that is enough for the watches, warnings, and advisories chart. Let's move on to the National Hurricane Center, where most of our information is going to come from. So we have two systems in the Atlantic. We have Gonzalo, which currently has maximum sustained winds of 60 miles an hour, minimum central pressure of 1,000 millibars, and is moving west at 14 miles an hour. Then you have Tropical Storm Hannah, which was just named as the time that I'm filming this video. It has maximum sustained winds of 40 miles an hour, minimum central pressure of 1,002 millibars, and it is moving west-northwest at 7 miles an hour. We also have this disturbance here coming off of Africa. 5 days, 30% chance of formation. Now, let's move on to the East Pacific, where we do have Hurricane Douglas. Current maximum sustained winds of 130 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure of 954 millibars, and is moving west-northwest at 18 miles an hour. So let's look further into each of these storms. First, with Gonzalo, the warnings in cone has kind of differed a little bit. It's still a tropical storm, and it will remain a tropical storm throughout most of the day today. Then it will form into a hurricane, hit areas like Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and also areas like Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, and then move further into the Caribbean Sea. If we look at the arrival time of winds with the 5-day wind speed probabilities, you can see that most of those islands have a really good shot of seeing at least some tropical storm force winds. So if it doesn't hit as a hurricane, it will be hitting as a tropical storm, definitely. So the islands here will be starting to see the impacts between Saturday at 8 a.m. or Saturday at 8 a.m. to Saturday at 8 p.m. And by the time Saturday 8 p.m. rolls around, it should be moving through this area, and it should start getting into more open waters as well. Once this strengthens into a hurricane, and once it gets through the island, it will be decreasing in strength. So that is a good thing. It will not be gaining any more strength when it gets back into the Caribbean Sea. So let's move on to Tropical Storm Hannah's warnings in cone. So it's expected to stay a tropical storm, hit the coast of Texas. This cone has moved a little bit further south than in my video on Tropical Storm Hannah, and then quickly deform into a depression again. So this will be mostly a soaker. It probably won't have as much of an impact with the winds and the storm surge. Most likely going to be a huge rainmaker. The European model is forecasting a widespread area of 2 to 3 inches, 3 to 5 inches of rain. So arrival time of winds and wind speed probabilities. So most of the southern Gulf Coast of Texas has a pretty good chance of seeing some tropical storm force winds, starting in the just south of the Houston metro between Friday at 2 p.m. and Friday at 8 p.m. So today at 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. And then most of the Gulf Coast will be starting to see impacts between today at 8 p.m. and tomorrow at 8 a.m. and then inland after 8 a.m. So here, the rainfall potential. So huge rainfall potential. We have a widespread area of 4 to 6 inches, even wider spread area of 2 to 4 inches. So this is going to be a super soaker. It will be a super soaker. Now let's do the key messages for the system. Hannah is forecast to strengthen, and it is expected to bring tropical storm force winds to portions of the Texas coast, where a tropical storm warning is in effect. Hannah is expected to produce heavy rain across portions of Louisiana, southern Texas, and northern Mexico. These rains could result in flash flooding and isolated minor to moderate river flooding. So let's move on then to Douglas, which is a major hurricane. I think that 130 is either a Category 3 or a Category 4, but either way, it is a major hurricane. It is expected to hit Hawaii as either a hurricane or a tropical storm, most likely a hurricane. So let's look here at the cone. Major hurricane until about 2 a.m. Saturday, then it degenerates back into a Category 2, continues to move over cooler waters, downgrades in wind strength, downgrades eventually to a tropical storm. So that is all good news. It is currently probably at some of its strongest point in this area by the time that I'm filming this, and then early Friday morning. So the arrival time of winds with the 5-day wind speed probabilities, let's look at Hawaii. So portions of Hawaii, the Big Island, it's probably in the, let's look at the Big Island here. So Saturday 8 p.m. to Sunday 8 a.m. and then the rest of the Hawaiian Islands, most of the other Hawaiian Islands in fact, are at Sunday 8 a.m. to Sunday 8 p.m. Another couple after that. So the good thing is that the actual chance of receiving tropical storm force winds is lower the further west you go out, as it will be weakening. Right now it's at its strongest point, it's going to weaken. That's always a good sign. But this still is a very, very, very strong storm, especially for the first hurricane of the season. So as you can see, hurricane force wind probabilities, it's not at the Hawaiian Islands. So this is probably kind of decreased in strength in the long term while increasing in strength currently. So that is good. So it's looking like probably high tropical storm force winds, and low tropical storm force winds is even more area than that. So let's move on to the key messages. Douglas is expected to move near or over portions of the Hawaiian Islands this weekend, and there is an increasing chance that strong winds, dangerous surf, and heavy rainfall could affect portions of the state beginning Saturday night or Sunday. Interest on the Hawaiian Islands should continue to monitor the progress of Douglas and the official forecasts as they evolve over the next few days. Watches could be issued today on Friday. So with that, actually, let me read the key messages for Gonzalo, and then we'll finish this up. Because Gonzalo, you have a little bit different risks. This doesn't impact the U.S. directly, but it does impact other countries. The risk of wind and rain impacts from Gonzalo in portions of the southern Windward Islands this weekend continues to increase. However, there is significant uncertainty in how strong Gonzalo will be when it moves across the island. Despite the uncertainty in Gonzalo's future intensity, hurricane or tropical storm conditions are possible across portions of the southern Windward Islands Saturday and Saturday night. Hurricane and tropical storm watches are currently in effect some of the islands, and additional watches or warnings could be required tonight or early today. Interest in the southern Windward Islands should monitor the progress on Gonzalo and follow any advice given by local officials. Now let's look at the GOES viewer. Let's start with Gonzalo. So here is the geo color loop. you see that Gonzalo is a very, very small tropical storm, and there is very volatile conditions around this storm. That is why it is very, very difficult to predict the intensity, but it is very simple to predict the trajectory. So basically, there is the Saharan air layer, the SAL as we call it, up north here, as well as a lot of wind shear, basically upper level winds that are kind of conflicting with the actual natural rotation of this storm. Both of those could dismantle this storm from the inside out, or technically from the outside in. So the intensity has been going down in the long term. A couple days ago when I made the Tropical Storm Gonzalo video, and now I've actually updated the title to Hurricane Gonzalo, it was forecast to become a hurricane yesterday, Thursday. And now it is not expected to become a hurricane until either late today or early tomorrow. So let's move on here to Tropical Storm Hannah. Newly named Tropical Storm Hannah. This thing, Tropical Storm Hannah, looks huge. It is huge. Basically engulfing the entire Gulf of Mexico. There are bands that were currently impacting Florida. Now we're starting to see some impacts in Louisiana. Very, very, very big storm, even though it has just been upgraded to a tropical storm. So it's also looking very organized as well, definitely because of the strengthening to a tropical storm. But we also see a lot of thunderstorms starting to pop up here. You could see it right before sunset, starting to see like those little bubbles of thunderstorms really starting to blow up there. But this thing it looks powerful from the satellite imagery. You would not expect this to be a tropical storm. Definitely looking very, very strong from here. Texas is definitely the target zone for this. There's going to be a lot of rain with this system. We're looking at even higher rain totals on the Gulf Coast in general. If you live in the Gulf Coast, a lot of rain coming your way. Now, let's move on here to Hurricane Douglas. This thing is well defined. Look at that eye. That eye is super, super strong. That's when you know you got a major hurricane on your hands, is when you have that tightly wound eye. And you could tell this from a mile away that this is not a storm to be messed with. So that is what's going to be eventually impacting Hawaii. But right now it is looking like it is going to be the strongest now, and then it will eventually kind of deteriorate, kind of lose some strength. It's moving into cooler waters, so that is always good news. So I will have another update on the tropics tomorrow, because tomorrow we're getting really close to 0 hour on some of these landfalls. So that will be very, very exciting to kind of track and kind of see the impacts of all these storms kind of hitting at almost the same time. So the tropics, they are active again, and they have come back in with a bang. 3 potentially super impactful storms on either the Hawaiian Islands or Texas or the Windward Islands. So I will have another update tomorrow, and I will see you guys again next time.